Christian Boas is another investor who will be telling us something about Berlin and the local startup ecosystem. Thank you for coming and being part of svhouse.tv. And Christian is active investor in Black Devil, GmbH.
Yeah.
And you are focusing on e-commerce, store selling clothing, fishing products and fitness.
Yeah.
Right. And you are also active in Transatlantic Alliance, which is an organization that tries to make meetups for founders and investors from different places, just bring the people together and discuss some hot topics which are related to startup and investments. So my first question is, what is the best way, how to meet you, where to meet you, if I want to raise funding for my company?
I will not talk about me as a person, I'll just talk in general, because I sometimes get contacted by founders on LinkedIn, and because I mentor at accelerators, I think you should support startups and have a quick chat with them, have a coffee with them, even if you don't think it's a fit, but just maybe you can help them. And a lot of founders are very naive and I don't know, they have expectations that are unrealistic and they're not well read up enough. And I think you need to come with a certain level of professionalism when you meet investors, and I find a lot of the founders don't have that. So I would strongly advise that founders to basically be, have read up a lot and know basically the etiquette of how to speak to an investor, and because investors have very little time and they expect a certain standard of professionalism. And I find a lot of the early founders that haven't gone through this professional mill or schooling of having worked at accelerator or startup before that's been funded, they don't have that. So with me, I mean, you can just send me a message on LinkedIn, and if I have time, I'll meet you. But a lot of investors don't have the time, and they don't take the time to meet startups because they simply don't have it. And the problem is many founders don't have the professionalism to speak to them.
And if you're establishing the relationship with investor and contacting him or her for the first time, what are the things to do?
My advice would be not to contact an investor directly. I would try to find a mutual contact that we have who knows them well, and he could do an introduction and can vouch for me. So if I want to speak, like you said, you spoke to Matthias from Point 9, I would, for example, say, look on LinkedIn, do I have any mutual contacts with him? I would approach one of these mutual contacts and say, can you do an introduction to Matthias for me? I'm doing this startup, and vouch for him, because I think that carries a lot more weight and there's a bit of a filter, and I would try to use a middleman to do a warm introduction. It helps because cold introductions, I mean, most investments happen only on referrals from trusted people, not from cold introductions. Very rare.
And what are the mistakes? What are founders doing when trying to raise some money?
I mean, I can only speak from my experience now. I think some founders are quite unprofessional. They have unrealistic expectations. Their valuations are not realistic. Some want you to sign NDAs straight away without anything, and they know that they should know that investors don't sign NDAs at such an early point of discussion. I just find that a lot of startups are not professional enough, and they should learn on that. There's a lot of resource on the internet. There's no excuse not to know how to approach an investor.
So then, if you approach an investor and then you successfully reach an agreement, how long does it usually take between the first contact and closing the deal?
It really depends on the sum and how strict the deal is, because if it's based on trust, you need very little paperwork and very little due diligence, and we'll go through. But if it's a bigger transaction, or maybe there's not less trust, there might be some due diligence that will take a bit longer. It depends, and a lot of investors want to invest straight away. They will say, I will invest into you if you reach these milestones, and if you reach these milestones, they have trust in you that when they get funded that they will keep progressing. So I don't know. Fundraising can take up to 6 months, but I think if someone wants to invest and they pass due diligence, it can go quite quickly.
So now we successfully established a relationship with investor, and we are sending a pitch deck. What do you think or how should the pitch deck look like? What are the most important parts of pitch deck that can't be missing?
I think the 3 most important slides, in my opinion, would be what is the problem and how much does it hurt the customer, and how much are they willing to pay for you to solve this problem for them. Then the next slide would be the solution you're offering them, and basically that you can prove that you can solve this problem for the user, and the team. Teams are important.
Are things such as executive summary or lean canvas still things that are required by investors?
Executive summary is more in a business plan. I would do a business plan just to have the key figures calculated, but not a complete business plan. So maybe a business plan 4 or 5 pages. Yes, you need an executive summary, but it's not essential. Like I said, it depends on the level of trust. You know, if the team is very convincing, then you will not need this all these levers like levels of detail, as if you didn't trust them or did not know them at least that well. And lean canvas, my experience is that most people use lean canvas for their own guidance rather than for investors.
And then we are lucky with investor with pitch deck, and we scheduled another meeting. Then what are the things to bring for further meetings? You talked about some projections, any other financial statements or go-to-market strategies needed for the next meetings?
So basically, you said first the pitch deck was sent out. You said, and then for me, it would be interesting to meet the team to check out the technology. Yes, go-to-market strategy is important. Yes, financials you should discuss. You should basically make the investor believe that you can execute the next steps with his money and whatever that's required. That's the general statement I would make. So it depends on each individual startup.
And what are the key metrics investors are focusing when reviewing a prospective?
It depends at what stage. If it's an early startup, it doesn't have much revenues, so you're probably more convinced. You'll be more convinced that the team is strong, that they can execute it. If it's a more advanced startup, you have a lot more figures than you can look at that. So it depends. I think the later stage you are, the more metrics you can provide. The more metrics you provide, the more easier it is to project if you can be a success. That's my opinion.
Next questions. We are again moving to the next stages of this whole process with investor. We are making evaluation, and you said yourself that sometimes the evaluation are not realistic from the founder side.
Yeah.
How to make them realistic? How to make a good model that will be suitable for investor and founder as well?
The thing is, how do you evaluate a company? I spoke, for example, to someone from the EIT. And he basically used a traditional model of valuation. It was basically bookkeeping style, working capital, EBITDA, all these calculations together, and then it comes to how much the company's worth. That's not my style. My style is more basically how big is the market, how much of the market share can you reach, how much capital do you need, how much revenue you can make, and then add some calculations like that. It's a bit more gut feeling rather than a hard code calculation. Because internet is not like a hairdresser where you can fixedly calculate it. It's you can't predict it. I think internet is unpredictable, so therefore you have to go with your instincts a bit more, with gut feeling more. I don't know. Sorry, I lost the Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it was about the realistic valuation.
Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking too much about yeah. So a very realistic valuation would be obviously if you calculate it on the figures that the company has. But I think that you should look at where the company is now and how much money you need to basically attain a certain share of the market and go by that. And that's it really depends. So very realistic would be by going by the figures. And I don't know. I had a founder recently who just showed me some figures of he used sweat equity, this principle, and he valued his time at €50 an hour, and basically the amount of time he put in valued the company at €750,000, but it didn't even have a prototype, so it doesn't make any sense. You might have put that much time in, but you have nothing to show for it. So that's at an early stage, and at a later stage, yeah. I don't forget, in America, programmers cost a lot more, so you can value it a bit differently than in Europe. I haven't invested in the US yet, so I can't judge exactly how they value there. But I know that with German investors, they have more what I call a now valuation. So how much is the company now? The Americans is a bit more. I always have an impression about what is the future potential of the market that you can reach, and that's why there's higher valuations.
And at the early stage, what should founder expect from investor once the deal is signed? Of course, he or she gets the money. Is there any other kind of help that the founder can rely on?
It depends. I mean, some founders just want money. They don't care what comes from. That means they want to be left on their own devices. But I think that if you are receiving investment, you should get smart money. You should have someone who understands what you're doing. Ideally, is an expert in sales or tech or something business related, and has a network that can assist you to grow. So my advice would be, if you can, to take smart money. But some founders are not very picky; they just want capital and they don't care where it comes from. But yeah.
So to slowly conclude, what would be your one word of advice for a startup or entrepreneur?
In general, or in Berlin, or
in general?
I think one thing I've learned is, because I've also been involved in startups that failed, is when I first started, I was just naive and I was dreaming about being successful, but also be aware that you can fail and and be aware how painful it is to fail, especially in Germany, where if you go insolvent, you get heavily scorned upon, and it's not like in America where you can fail and there's not much hassle because you can shut the company down very quickly. In Germany, the bureaucratic work of closing a company down is very, very stressful, and also socially is frowned upon. I would also not just dream of being successful, but also being aware of what the failures are. That's and what the downsides of failure is. And I think a lot of founders don't do that yet.
Perfect. I think that's it. Thank you very much for your time. Great insights. And good luck with your future investments and all your activities you'll be doing, either here in Berlin or other places.
I think Berlin's my home at the moment. I think I'll stay in Berlin. And
perfect.
But thanks for the interview. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.